What's poppin', my freeform renegades? You are tuned into the Freeform Network. Thanks for joining us for another fun episode of Freeform Radio. I'm your host, Noel, with my co host, Daniel.
Yes, sir. Here trying to be the light in the darkness, Andy.
Holy crap, that's deep. And Andy.
It's all good, Andy. We're here. I was just told to sound like shit, but I think I'm doing all right and sound better than anybody else. Welcome.
You're going to be the sound in the silence, and Daniel's the light in the darkness. All
The
right, well,
darkness
hey.
came from somebody by Danny's area, yeah.
Well, it's another beautiful day here in Chicago, and it really is. Right now, we're having this really good weather on this weekend. Wherever you listeners are, we hope you're feeling good and relaxed. And we're going to just jump right into this. Start off with Andy here. And it looks like you have a talking point here for Olympic breakdancing issue. What's going on? Did Booker T show up or what happened?
I think if he did, it would have been a lot better. I don't know if you guys knew that breakdancing is an Olympic sport now. I think this is the first year. So everybody had these like high expectations. I think they were having flashbacks of like breaking and breaking two and shit, and there's gonna be all this like piece of cardboard and people just like spinning, helicoptering, and all this shit. And the person that won the gold medal, she didn't do none of that shit, and the internet just went crazy. I believe she won the gold medal as an Australian, or one of the Australian who won, a female that won the gold medal. Um, what I saw, it was not breakdancing. I don't know if you guys had know about this or have been keeping up with the Olympics, but it was people are like mocking it on Facebook, and I think they should. Um, well, did you guys see anything, or did you know about breakdancing being an Olympic sport?
That's news to me, man. Never heard of that.
I did hear about it prior that there was going to be breakdancing, that it was part of the Olympics now, but I didn't have high expectations, but I did not see any highlights. I just saw like a still picture on Twitter or
Right.
X, and I didn't even feel like clicking on it because I didn't want to start getting a bunch of videos on it.
You should watch it. It's pretty. I think when I was younger, me and my cousin would breakdance. He did a lot better than this woman. So Twitter just started roasting her like they always do. You know how the internet can be mean, and a lot of it was just. It wasn't breakdancing to me. I mean, what is I know breakdancing as from late '80s, early '90s. And like always, what's great about the internet, the memes start popping out, and I think the coach finally came out for this woman, and she's like, she was, you don't know her backstory and this and that, and how she was abused or something, but it doesn't excuse. Like, yes, I'm not saying she had a horrific childhood. It sounds like from this coach, allegedly, but. It is it was a breakdance, and I'm sorry, man, that was brutal, and the internet's having a field day with it like they should.
So it
It
almost
just
sounds like
like always, people are just negative. The internet can be negative so much, and to see this, and there was a lot of like excitement that breakdancing, it's a pop culture, street culture type of thing, and then what came up of it are believed to be started in the United States, with hip hop and all that. And to see this, it was pretty, it was laughable. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you, it's fucking laughable. It's hilarious.
I mean, it sounds like she just got a participation trophy, but when it's like the Olympic medal, it's got like some weight behind it, so it's pretty crazy that like
But the best part is the person. I don't know if she won the medal, but it sounds like she did. They're not showing any other videos of the breakdancing competition. So I don't know that. I mean, I should have fucking checked, but it just nothing else of the breakdancing from that competition has come up. So people are like, this is what you know, people are like, I expected this and I got this in this competition. So
it's like the
um
Timu of breakdancing.
and then someone posted a meme of Breaking Two where Ozone is like, I saved miracles for this shit. Like, I don't know if you guys remember seeing Breaking 2. The community center was called Miracles. And then they started breaking all this, breakdancing, and they've got enough money to keep it. And it's just that one had me fucking rolling. Um, but again, man, it's good for the Olympic to add new competition. I don't even want to call it a sport, but competition. But like always, it's it's like hit or miss. I don't even know, like, when the X Games was so popular, I don't see any advertising or anything for that in the Olympics this year. Like, remember that was a thing for a while, and now I don't even see that. It's just because that fad's over, like with the BMXing or the skateboarding and all that. You don't see that.
Pretty much, man. I mean, back in the day, what was it? Bob Burnquist, Tony Hawk. There was
Yeah,
a number of people that were like really big names. But think about now, like who's a big name now? It's not as big, I
yeah,
don't think,
and that
anymore.
was like when it was finally added as an Olympic sport. People got excited. There was like excitement and all this, and I haven't heard any. I don't even know if it's in the Olympics anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can't
and
recall.
I'm not sure why they even added breaking. I'm looking at the list of the Paris events, and there's a ton of stuff in here already. Water polo, volleyball, taekwondo, surfing, rugby, judo, football, cycling, canoeing, basketball,
Oh, there's
archery,
football. Like, I didn't even know that.
shooting. I don't know if by football they mean soccer. I don't really know what that corresponds to. It does look like a soccer symbol next to football. So I mean, they got tons of events. Even that shooting one, I didn't know was an event, and I saw some memes on that where like people holding up the Glock and like shooting
Well,
stuff.
one guy, he just, like, the previous shooters had all this like tools and like pads to help him shoot. This guy just walked out. He put his hand in his pocket. He's just using. He closes like one eye, and so people are like, damn, this motherfucker's a gangster and shit. And like everybody else got like special glasses and all this, and he didn't do it. And I think he medaled. I think he got like a bronze or a silver.
Right? Yeah, I didn't see any of the breakdancing, and I didn't see any of the shooting other than a few memes. But yeah, I haven't really been into the Paris Olympics. I usually do try to tune in for some of the events, but nothing's really caught my interest this year.
Yeah, I mean, like, baseball used to be a sport. I haven't heard anything about that. I mean, I know basketball. They just won the gold, the U.S., but they had to come back and beat France. I think it was like a tight game, and like it just shows like the world's catching up to sports that America has created, like baseball and basketball. And but I don't know. Like, I'm not. I was into the Olympics when I was a kid. Now I pop my head in there once in a while to check it out. But it's they keep banning stuff and removing stuff. I think that's one of the issues that they have. They have a problem with. But we'll see what happens. I think it should be wrapping up in the next week. I mean, we're pretty much close to the end. I think. I think by the time our next episode drop, it should be over.
Oh, cool, man.
Yeah, my,
But
my big issue with the Olympics, especially, I mean, well, it's been for a long time. There always feels like some way or another, people are gonna get, the short end of the stick, like this, they're gonna get like their conditions are not gonna be optimal. Their equipment's gonna go missing. I heard a bunch of different stories, like isolated incidents where different events, different people, they had like the short end of the stick. Like they just got unlucky. One girl had like a pole vault like mishap. Her equipment was gone, and then after like everything was done and she competed, they finally found her stuff and they offered her a
yes,
chance to redo it, but she's like already thrown off her. She was off her game after that, and every other event, like she just didn't do well. And there was like other examples of that, and I'm like, man, there's like some sabotage going on here. That the accommodations, the hotels, the lack of AC, stuff like that. Like I was like, man, dude, yeah, this is why I don't watch it because it's like gamed and rigged. It's just like everything else. It feels like this is all just a sham, sometimes.
well, that's one of the things. I mean, going out to the Olympic Village where all the athletes are, they're sleeping on boxes. There's no AC, and they are talking about they're complaining. I know air conditioning is like a very American thing, but it's been provided in previous Olympics, and they don't even get beds. They put them on boxes, and they've been the Olympics have been pretty good at trying to keep that under wraps. But I know some stuff came out. They try to keep it on the down low, and we'll see, man. Like the Olympics, I think is always going to be on. It's going to continue. It's just it's evolving all the time, and sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad. So, and well, we'll see how it goes, man. But I think by the next time the next episode drops, uh, it should be done, and we'll see how the U.S. does it, how many medals they get, and all that other stuff. I think China's like right behind them. It used to be the Russians, but we'll see. The other thing I've been watching or keeping my eye on, well, I try not to, but the White Sox this year is this is probably my last thing I'm going to talk about the White Sox this year for the regular baseball season. It's been a fucking wasted year with they fired Grafal. They put Sizemore as their new interim coach. I think I've in previous podcast episodes I mentioned that Grafal should have been fired last year because he was horrible, just fucking horrible. They finally got rid of him after they break that winning streak or that losing streak. They lost 21 in a row. They broke the streak and then they fired him. And then they had the Cubs this weekend, and they basically they lost the series. It's a brutal fucking year, man. It's hard to watch baseball. And last night's game was on national TV, so I caught a little bit of it when they were up, and then they just blew the fucking lead, and I'm like, I'm done. Like, I'm not watching this shit no more. I don't even think I want to go. If they gave me tickets to Elvis night, which is like a big game at the park, I wouldn't even go, I think. And the only thing that's popular is that milkshake, the campfire milkshake or whatever that everybody loves. I mean, that is it. But it's been a rough year for the White Sox. And Ozzy put it perfect at one of the post-game shows when they're on that losing streak. He was like, man, I got this thing is making me drink. I lost. I didn't get hired to become the new manager a couple of years ago. I was interviewing in Grafal. They picked him over me. So I was like, they're telling me I'm past my prime and all this, and this fucking guy loses 100 games. Like, he's 100 games under 500 on his managing career in 1.5 seasons. And he's like, I gotta go. I can't believe I lost. I didn't get hired, and they picked him over me. That just goes to show the state of the organization. I think that's isn't an Ozzy thing. It's just what's going on with the organization.
Yeah, I think it's kind of rough. I mean, when you trade away and give away of a lot of your prospects, it's kind of tough for them to be a winning team at all. I know me and you kind of spoke before that we were wondering if ownership is kind of tanking on purpose because they're trying to look to move the team. I really don't know how that would benefit them, but I know that's part of the conversation. But yeah, when you start trading away some of your best players, prospects, some of them rightfully so, like Tim Anderson, I think he was injury prone, so getting rid of him. And then they just got rid of, like a month ago, what the hell was his name? Emmanuel? No, I already forget his name. Eloy, yeah. Yeah, he was injury prone as well. So very promising careers, but these guys that they just get injury prone and they're just going to be injured. It's best to just cut ties.
Well, think about it. Just 3 years ago, 4 years ago, they were a playoff team, and look at them now. It's like they're literally the White Sox, and national media generally do not get talked about. They are being talked about. They are being talked about how they lost 21 games in a row. They are talking about how this is a bad organization, and the Cubs are not having that good of a year either, but no one's talking about them. They're talking about the White Sox, and it's all because they're bad, and it's that's not the type of attention that you need. And the other thing is they're trying to get a new stadium, and that's like a whole nother situation. Like if they lose this bad, they're not gonna get that stadium. The Bears are trying to get a new stadium with Chicago, and Chicago's asking the state to put up some money, and the governor said no. And like, there's no way in hell the Sox are gonna get a stadium. So it's just bad, dude. It's I think I mean I've seen some pretty bad White Sox teams in my lifetime. This kind of reminds me of the Bevington days. This might be right up there or even worse. And I thought I would never see anything like Bevington again. Um, that guy, when he left the White Sox, he did not even coach in Major League. I didn't hear his name ever again. I have the feeling Grafal is going to be the same thing. He might be a coach because he came from Kansas City and they did have some success when he was a coach there. But that guy is just horrible, 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 horrible. That decision of hiring that guy is put the organization way back. And like you said, they started cleaning house kind of last year with they let some superstars go, Abreu, Anderson, some of the pitchers. They traded a lot of good pitching at the beginning of the year for draft picks and prospects. They kind of tried to do again in the middle of the year, the trade deadline. They got some of it. It's not working, and I'm still not sure about the GM gets how he's gonna be this year or down the road. Um, it's just bad, dude. I mean, I don't know. The more I think about it, and I'm gonna tell you right now, I haven't watched a lot of White Sox baseball. I tried to watch it in May. It was fucking brutal, and I tried to watch it more, and it just got worse and worse and worse. So it's fucking sad being a lifelong White Sox fan. We'll see what comes up. But let us know what you guys think at ffnquestions@gmail.com. But let's switch it over to Danny. He's been watching some stuff on Netflix. Till Murder Do Us Part. What is that, Danny? Is that a documentary or is that a mini series or what is it?
It's actually about murders that happened like in 1985 on Netflix. So it's like a documentary, and it's concerning. I can't even say these people's name. Sorling and Handsome. These are two. Well, the one couple is like a European couple, so the parents were real rich, they were really well off, and the daughter went overseas for studying. So she went to like England or something for studying, and that's where she met this other guy, this German guy, and they hit it off. The German guy was one of those like weird kind of guys. He was kind of quirky, and they became a really hot and heavy couple. They end up moving back to the States with the family. And from there, the parents, they end up getting murdered. And these two guys kind of like wall themselves off, trying to help the family find the murderers, but they're just acting innocent the whole time. Once the heat started hitting them, they actually ran off and went on this international run where they hopped around England to Paris to Russia, or I forgot where else they went, but they hopped around a few other countries, like dodging international investigators, trying to find them to ask them questions about their parents' murder. And anyways, the whole documentary kind of goes into it, and it's just very odd, their personalities and how kind of cold, matter of fact they are with their parents being murdered, that it's just really, really weird. And I think that's what gravitated me to it after I saw the trailer. Just their like unwants to really to really care about it. So really weird. I don't know if you guys ever heard of it. Doesn't sound like you heard of it, Andy. Did you hear about this, Noel?
I gotta be honest, man. I don't have Netflix anymore. Long story, but no, I don't know about this one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's a really cool documentary. I don't know if I'm just in the, as they put it, murder porn
Yeah, it sounds like you're
mood.
definitely into murder porn lately, then.
Yeah, because I know I've been watching a few of these documentaries, and maybe it's that I've watched a few. It's kind of like the breaking video. I don't want to click on it because I don't want to get a bunch of breaking videos.
Go down that
And
rabbit
maybe,
hole.
yeah, and maybe I just hit too many on Netflix that this is all I get, recommended.
Algorithm.
Yeah, yeah, this new AI is not doing me any favors. But yeah, man, I think it was a pretty good documentary. Really weird guys and girl because they were both going back and forth. And the kind of weird part at the end is that um, they started blaming one another. First, it was the guy that kind of seemed like he could have been the murderer. So then the guy got this like awesome lawyer team because first they were being defended together, and then once she kind of threw the blame on him, he got this awesome defense force, and they kind of separated, and then they cut like ping ponging the blame back and forth to each other, and really cool documentary. Recommend it. Got a lot of real footage from the court case, and they play some like mock-ups of what they think the events of the night ended up coming out, but pretty cool, man.
So
Pretty
hold
cool.
on, you said the couple married or they killed one of their like both set of parents or like the girls or the guys?
The girl's parents. So the girl went to England, met this guy, they came back, and he was supposedly very possessive to the point where supposedly he convinced her to like let's kill your parents to steal their money kind of thing.
Uh,
And it was something like that. But they kept throwing both theories back and forth onto why the other one killed it. He killed him because of this, and she killed him because of that. And the documentary kind of goes into that. But
did they interview the woman that helped kill them or the guy or they?
yeah, yeah, both of them they're in the court thing. The after like current events, the guy does speak, and so does the woman because right now she's in prison and he has finished his term, so he's
Damn.
actually loose. So they're both talking on this Netflix documentary, and it's just really cool to see their after perspective of after the court case. But pretty cool, man. Uh, any of you people that are into murder porn right now, definitely recommend it. Something else, speaking kind of on the Olympics, I watched I, Tonya. I don't know if you guys ever seen this. It's a kind of like a docudrama of Tanya Harding and her involvement with Nancy Kerrigan and her getting hit in the knee and getting her knee busted up or her ankle. I forget where she got hit. But yeah, I don't know if you guys even recall this happening way back when. This docudrama came out in 2017. Didn't do too bad, but I didn't hear too much of this when this came out. But yeah, it goes into some of the life story of Tanya Harding, her growing up, with her mom and some of her dealings with her boyfriends. Did you hear about this movie, Andy?
I remember I know of the Tanya Harding Kerrigan situation at the Olympics. I know of it. I know a couple years ago, I think maybe it was like the anniversary or something, and all this stuff started coming out. And I think in the last couple years, they actually made a movie that was with like a theatrical release with the girl, the woman that played Harley Quinn and Suicide Squad or whatever. She played Tanya, and I don't know who played Kerrigan, but there was a movie about this too.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
it.
this
That's it,
this this
isn't
is
it?
the one. Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh,
with
that is the
Margaret.
movie. Oh,
Yeah,
I thought
with
you,
Margaret
yeah, I
Robbie.
thought you said it was like a documentary or docu series or something.
Well, it's like a drama, but they speak of the history, so it's not just the events happening. They kind of speak to the camera as they're in character. So they're being
Ah,
interviewed in
okay.
the movie. So it's not really a documentary, but it's a got that docu feel because they're speaking to the camera, kind of breaking the fourth wall. Like something would happen, like the boyfriend would be like, "Yeah, she beat me all the time, Tonya." And they'll show a scene where she's throwing like a shoe at the boyfriend, and then Tanya would pop up in character, like in an interview setting, and be like, "I never did that. That was a lie." And then they would just keep going through the movie, the drama like that, where they would just talk and break the fourth wall and kind of speak to the camera. But yeah,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't
it
know
does have
that.
that
Yeah.
girl. Yeah. Did you hear about this one, Noel?
The movie, yeah, I never saw it, but I know roughly, the gist of what happened, and so like the Tanya got banned, right, permanently for competing again after that, I think. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. After she was, after all the facts came out, and in the 1992 or 94 Olympics, when uh, the this girl's knee ended up getting busted, it ended up coming out that it was between the boyfriend, the bodyguard, and maybe Tanya Harding involved in this, trying to get the shenanigans going to kind of beat her up and kind of threaten her. She ended up, one of her sentencing was that she was banned from the Olympics. So it hit her really hard. I remember even afterwards, she got into like boxing and started doing like these like things with the guy from Different Strokes, that guy that was having problems too. And they were doing like reality shows, and she was in a few other things to kind of just keep the frame up, I guess, or make money.
I think
But
she
it
did
was kind of,
adult movies too.
oh, did she? Oh, wow. Yeah, I didn't know about that one, but yeah, it's kind of sad. It goes into her life story. She grew up in a kind of rural area, some would say kind of hillbilly-ish and stuff like that. But she grew up from, at least if you believe the movie, it was kind of a tough upbringing with her mother. She was really strict and really hard on her. But she excelled, and she was one of the only Olympic stars that was able to hit like this two triple axel thing that was like really famous at the time. I don't know if people are doing them dime a dozen nowadays, but at least in 1994, not a lot of people were doing it. So pretty cool documentary. I think if you're in an Olympic mood, this is a cool one to watch and kind of see that whole thing come out. The part that I had mentioned to you while we were talking the other day, Andy, is this guy. I think his name is Sean. It's the bodyguard. That was the weirdest part of this whole
Loogie, or
thing.
what was his name?
I can't remember what his like nickname thing was, but I think his name was Sean. He was the bodyguard, and he's got this like really weird personality where even in interviews he thought he was like some international like spy, and I can do I have all these different skill sets that allow me to do it. It was just like a really weird, like, you're living in a different dimension, guy. I don't know what reality you're in, but
Oh,
you're
that
not
crap.
living in, yeah, I'm like, you're not living in this reality. So it was a really funny part of this whole show that even got me watching a few things on YouTube to see more about it. But really weird, man. I think if you guys are into that kind of stuff, the Olympics and just the whole story, really good movie with that actress, the one that, like you said, that Suicide Squad. Um, Before I go more onto my other topics, I wanted to ask you guys. My wife, while we were talking the other day, she kind of made me feel weird, but I don't know about you guys. I don't know what time you guys hit the road in the morning, but it's been kind of cold in the morning. And the other day, it was so cold that I actually turned my heater on in the car because it was just way too cold in the morning, and I didn't have a jacket on. I'm just leaving the house in a polo shirt, so is it weird of me to turn on the heater as I'm driving to work? Just because it's a little nippy in the morning.
Weakness, bro. Still summer.
I I would say it's unusual. I don't know about weird. I would say it's unusual because typically in the summer it's not that cold, in the morning. And I do know what you mean, but I personally didn't find it that cold. I'd wonder what the temperature was where you are, because I mean you're up north a little more, but even up there, I mean unless it's like 50 degrees, I don't see the need for the heater. That's a little much, I think.
Nice, nice, man. I like you validating it because it was 53 degrees. I looked at my temp thing and it was 53 in the morning. And I'm like, holy moly, it's a little chilly. And I thought it was going to wear off when I got in the car and started driving. But I had like a chill in me. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, man, I can't believe I'm going to have to turn on the heater in the summer. But yeah, it was really cold that morning.
Ah, dang. All right, that's different. Yeah, over here it's like 60 something in the morning.
And if it was
Yeah,
53 in January, you'd be grilling.
right.
So
You'd have a
Well,
jacket on too, though.
I just to defend myself, I just pumped the heater for like 5 minutes to just kind of heat up the cab a little, and then I turned it off. And actually, I did end up cracking a window open because I didn't want it hot in the cab. I just didn't want it cold. So I just wanted it like room temperature kind of thing. So yeah, just something that happened to me, and I mentioned it to my wife because I was just like, man, should I grab a hoodie? And she's like, what are you crazy? It's summer. And I'm like, it's cold outside.
Yeah.
uh,
But
no,
but
it
yeah.
was definitely.
When I take
It,
Junior in the morning, it's been in the low 60s, and my wife's like, "Should we give him his hoodie?" I'm like, "Yeah, it'll be fine." And then when we're driving, I lower my window down a little bit, and I'm like, yeah, "I gotta roll the window back up because I got the kid with me. He might get sick." So, but yeah, I mean, but I think that later that day was like 80 was the high or something, like 82 or 83. So I'm like, it
right.
warms up.
Yeah, for sure. I think that day that it was 50 something, the evening high was going to be like 77 or something. So it was a cool day to begin with. So um, before I toss it over to Noel, just one last little odd thing that kind of happened and I noticed is I was passing by a garbage man like 2, 3 weeks ago, and I noticed that their driving cab is on the right side, or at least this driver that I saw, his cab's on the right side, so he's actually sitting on the right side of the car. And same thing, I saw like one of those like Beetle cars, and the driving steering wheel was on the right side. So I'm like, man, this guy must have imported it from Europe or something. But it just seemed kind of weird that the cab was on the right side because I know European cars are like that, or in Japan and stuff. And it just got me thinking. I'm like, do you have to kind of switch it in your brain? Would it be something easy that when you go back to your American car after you do a shift, being a garbage man, is it hard to jump onto the other side and see it from a different perspective as you're driving? I just thought it was kind of weird. I don't know if you've ever thought about that, Noel.
yeah, I always wondered like if you ever traveled to Europe and had to drive on the other side, or like certain countries that do that, how would it be coming back to America and all that? It's the same concept pretty much. And yeah, I think you'd have to do there'd be like some reconditioning process, like to get back to the the way you're used to driving, for sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you ever thought about it, Andy. Man, I think it would be kind of difficult, to be honest, to switch back and
Nah, I
forth.
don't think so. The only thing that would worry me about European driving is the roundabouts. What you see on like when you see people driving in Europe, those roundabouts, those look a little like wow, because there's like 3, 4 lanes into that shit. So I'm like, how the fuck do you get all the way inside that lane, you know? And how do you get out of it? So that's about it. The side of the steering wheel, I don't think that bothers me or it won't bother me.
Yeah, those runabouts, changing the subject again, the runabouts are still kind of weird, man. I just ran across one a few days ago. I took Junior to get his haircut, and the way Google Maps was telling me to go, I hit a runabout, and I since I saw it was coming up, I Googled it really quick as I was at a stop sign. I'm like, what are the rules for runabouts? Just so I could remember it really quick in case I run across traffic as I'm hitting this runabout, I know what I'm supposed to be doing. But yeah, man, those things still kind of weird me out. Out here by us, you do see some on occasion. I don't think there's too many out there by you, Noel, but maybe by you, Andy.
Yeah, they're popping up a couple town, the next town they're popping up. And when they were fixing the road, they decided to put them in. There is like two or three that just popped in the last 2 years. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's kind of nuts. I guess it's all the things you got to put up with when you're driving. But let's switch over to Noel here. I see you've been watching some TV and watching in particular Bad Boys 4, Ride or Die. This is one that I saw came out, but I refused to watch it because of Will Smith. Tell us your thoughts on it.
I don't blame you. I mean, Hollywood in general is just in a weird place lately. Excuse me. All the actors right now. There's so many different actors involved in different just awkward stuff going on. Will Smith with the Chris Rock situation from the Oscars a few years back. It still leaves a bad taste in people's mouths, and they want to avoid anything with them. But you know, I try to set aside the person from the artwork because at the end of the day, the product should stand on its own. And there's a line, obviously, right? If he was like a murderer or whatever, that'd be different. But it was relative. I've seen worse. I've seen rappers do worse, and we still listen to their rap music, right? So at the end of the day, yeah, he slapped Chris Rock. Okay, yeah, that's messed up. They should hash it out. But I love Bad Boys. The franchise was cool growing up with it. Tia Leone and the first one, that was like, man, dude, it's like one of my first crushes, dude. It was growing up as a kid. I was like, damn, that lady was hot, bro. But anyway, the movies themselves were actually good too. And this one's the fourth one. I ended up watching the third. I didn't like it that much, so I was already kind of hesitant to watch this one. But they actually improved a lot from the third one, and this one felt like kind of like while they are older, it's like it felt like back in the day. It's like nostalgic. And so, really quick, the movie is about their captain who passed away in the third movie, and he's getting framed for being like laundering money and being essentially a criminal, right? And so the two guys, the two cops, Will Smith, Martin Lawrence, they're out to try to clear his name and also catch who's actually doing this because there's robberies going on and people are getting killed, and so they're trying to stop it. And this all takes place in Florida, so you got the awesome Miami skyline, you got the sunny weather, you got the beach babes, you got all the stuff, right? So it's a cool atmosphere, it's a cool vibe, and the jokes are funny. Some of them don't always land, but some of them are hilarious, and so it's a good balance there. A lot of action, just like Bad Boys is gonna bring a lot of explosions and stuff. It's almost like a Michael Bay movie. It's just constant explosions and shit going off, car chases and slow motion clips, and it was cool. It was entertaining, and that's what I wanted out of it. It's not gonna win an Oscar. It's not the best acting in the world, but they do well for what it is, right? So right now, it sits at a 6.7 out of 10 on IMDb, 53,000 votes. I would say that's a solid number. I personally would probably give it closer to like a 6.9, almost around that 7. There are some moments where it kind of felt rushed, but there are some moments that redeem that with like really cool action sequences and just like because it's a franchise and because it has recurring characters from the original, mainly it would actually, before I even go further, did you guys ever watch any of the other Bad Boys?
Yeah, I watched. I know it's like at least one or two. I'm not sure if I watched three. I know Alana and Junior really liked the series.
What about you, Andy?
I watched the first two, and I think the first one, if I remember, I think I watched it in the theater. But yes, the first two were really good, and then the third one, I saw that trailer. I'm like, yeah, I think I
Yeah.
wasn't feeling it. And this one, I saw it came back. I seen some clips. I'm like reels or shorts or whatever you want to call them, the TikTok knockoffs. But it's okay. I mean, it's going back to what you said. Noel, the Hollywood latest thing is they're going to old franchises. Nostalgia is a big thing in all these new movies. Um, That's why they made like fucking Beverly Hills Cop 4, which you might talk about a little bit later. And because that's all they got left. They got no real ideas. And nostalgia is awesome, but sometimes you just watch some of this stuff and you're like, oh man, they're older, they're fatter, and it's just like not that like you have a connection with some of these characters because you said you watched them when you were younger or whatever, and you have some type of experience with them. Relationships a hard word, but you have a connection to them. I guess is the word I'm looking for. And to see what happens to them, yeah, it's kind of like, like yeah, they're old. They get brought down a notch. Like in I don't know if you guys saw Clerks 3 and what happened to Dante. That was like really fucking depressing ending. And like you're like you basically it's a '90s movie and what happened to it and the way it ends that franchise. It kind of hurt to be honest with you. But yeah, I get it. That's all Hollywood got left is nostalgia.
Pretty much, man. It's a shame, it's either a comic book movie or it's like some nostalgia or reboot or refranchising. Yeah, it is what it is, man. The way I look at it now is like I'm just trying to get entertained. I don't really try to invest too much emotion anymore into like sports, movies, games, because there's so many ways for them to let you down when you invest in it, and it's out of our control. Hollywood's gonna do their thing, the video game industry's gonna do their thing, sports, all that stuff. It's out of our control. So I limit my emotional attachment, but at the same time, I'll give it a chance when when it's not too expensive or when there's ways to go around it and you could find out and you could watch it without having to break the bank. And so that was one of these situations where I was like, all right, let me give it a chance. It's 2 hour movie, definitely entertaining. What I wanted to say, since you guys watched the originals, do you guys remember Reggie, who was a little kid at the time, probably a teenager? He was going out with Martin Lawrence's daughter in the movie. And when they go answer the door and they see it's this little kid, they like really punk him and like they kind of prank him, like making it seem like they're gonna beat him up or whatever. Hey, you're gonna take my daughter out or whatever. You better be home at this time. And the guy's like super respectful, nervous. He's just like, oh, okay. Do you remember that?
I think that was the
Yeah, I do
second
remember.
one, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember that scene. He comes to the door and he's just like, "I'm his godfather, man." And they're kind of like acting all crazy. He's kind of scared the kid half to death.
Oh yeah, the
Like, are
Will
you a
Smith acts
virgin?
like
He
the
goes,
crazy uncle.
yeah. Like, there ain't no fucking sex then. Oh, yes, sir. Yeah.
So anyway, in this one, Reggie obviously is older. He ends up marrying the daughter. She's pregnant with his kid. He's in the army, or he's a Navy SEAL or something like that, Army or Navy SEAL. So he's like military trained, and he grew up a lot. And I don't want to spoil it. It's a fun moment, man. And there's cool action sequences and all that. It made up for some of the stuff that I would like ding it on, which is why I almost give it a 7. I would give it like a 6.9 out of 10. Definitely worth watching, entertaining, better than the third. If you get a chance, give it a shot. Moving on, and actually, you mentioned it, Andy. Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F, or Axel Foley, came out this year as well. Um, Pretty much around the same time, man, which is kind of ironic. It's like, all right, two franchises that are, really older, two cop stories, and they're both entertaining. I got what I wanted out of it. Now, this one more so relates to what you were saying, where they're older, it's different. And this one more so than Bad Boys, because while Will Smith and Martin Lawrence are aging, it's without a doubt that Eddie Murphy is older than them. And not by much, but he was like a previous generation. He was like 80s, whereas Bad Boys is 90s, so it's like a generation apart. And so this one is more obvious that, yeah, Eddie Murphy got older. He's not going to be doing the same action stuff he used to do. But it wasn't really always about that. It was more about his comedy, his ability to smooth talk and just be, goofy and off the wall, funny. And so he does that in this movie. It is a little different. Obviously he aged, but it still feels like Axel Foley. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel like a cash grab. It feels more like an homage to the originals. And you have, thank God, man, some of these guys are still alive because again, these movies are old, and some of the actors were already, older when they were in the movies. So John Taggart, I don't know if you remember, or Billy Rosewood from
Hmm.
the original Beverly Hills Cop, they're both in it, and they both have solid roles. They're not just cameos. They got dialogue, they got action scenes. It works. You got Paul Reiser, who's the friend in the Detroit Cop. You got Bronson Pinchot or
Pin
whatever,
show. Yeah.
who plays Surge, and
Sarge.
he's
Is
in
that
it.
Balky B?
Balky B, yeah.
And
Yeah,
then you
from
got
was it Strange
Perfect
Perfect
Strangers.
Strangers? Yeah, Perfect Strangers.
Chicago's own Perfect Strangers, yeah.
yeah, he's in, it's pretty funny, man. Like the moments that they have in it. It feels like well, nostalgic. It feels like nostalgic if you grew up watching these movies. And I watched them all. So the first two were entertaining. The third one was more of a cash grab.
Yeah.
But it was still, it was all right. It was, I've seen worse. But you got other actors that are, famous, and they play a good role. Kevin Bacon plays the villain in this one, but he's also a police officer, which is, I mean, yeah, it's pretty obvious. It's not. I, I almost spoiled it, but like it's pretty obvious. Anybody with fucking two brain cells would figure it out right away. All right, yeah, this guy's doing some
It's
shady
a
shit.
popcorn movie, which a lot of Eddie Murphy's movies are. Like those late 80 movies he made, like Trading Places, Coming to America, Beverly Hills Cop. They were like fucking, they were gems. People loved them. And then, Coming to America, I love that movie. Me and my sister can watch. I watch that movie at least once a year. They made the sequel for Amazon or whatever, and I was just like, eh. Like there was some nostalgia factor. It was okay, but I wasn't like it wasn't memorable like the first one. The Beverly Hill Cop series, I saw that, and then I know Eddie Murphy for a long time after three said he wasn't gonna make it unless he had a certain director. I think McGee, who made the Charlie Angels movies, the early ones. He's like, I ain't making it, and they worked and worked and worked on it, and they never can make it happen. And when this came out, I was kind of shocked. I'm like, I don't know if he's broke or what's going on. Like, I want to see it, but I'm not in no rush to see it. And like I said, the third one I remember, like you said, it was just they were just cashing it in. It wasn't like it had a couple things, but it wasn't crazy. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I want to see it, but I'm in no rush to see it.
I feel you on that, man. It was one of those things. I had time, and I was like, hey, man, you know what? It's on Netflix, so I'm like, there's ways to watch it too if you don't have Netflix, but if you do, definitely worth watching, man. It's not even a long movie, another 2 hour movie, kind of like Bad Boys. It also has Joseph Gordon-Levitt. If you remember Third Rock from the Sun,
Looper
um,
or whatever. That was a good movie.
and yeah, Looper. Yeah, there's a
Played
few
by
others.
young Bruce Willis.
And so, yeah, that's right.
And Don Juan was a good movie. I like that movie, Don Juan. I don't know if you ever seen it.
I haven't yet, but I
Watch.
have it on my list. It's on my backlog.
Yeah.
It's just ever growing. But oh yeah, it also has well, Axel Foley's daughter, who is played by Taylor Page. So essentially, just to give you the rundown of the story real quick, he is obviously a Detroit cop. His daughter ends up being a defense lawyer out of Beverly Hills, and they're estranged. They don't really see each other very often. She kind of has just like a little bit of like anger toward a lot of anger towards him for not being part of her life. So she became a defense lawyer, and she's defending somebody and investigating a crime to try to get her client off to not go to jail. And in doing so, she attracts negative attention that gets her in gets her in some danger. So Eddie Murphy obviously comes back from Detroit to Beverly Hills to help out. And even though she doesn't want his help, he obviously is going to try to save her and make sure she doesn't, get even in more danger. And yeah, it's an entertaining movie. Nothing too crazy. It's got funny moments, of course. a little bit of stuff that here and there that's kind of woke, but nothing over the top. Uh, Definitely still, feels like a Beverly Hills movie. Feels better than the third. Kind of like, Bad Boys, man. It's really like parallels, man. It's interesting that this is both the fourth movie in the installment of the franchise, and the fourth is better than the third. So, yeah.
Real
Yeah,
quick,
I watched. Oh, I'm sorry. I
go ahead,
watched
Danny.
it, and I thought it was a great movie. It was exactly what I was looking for, entertaining. And I know what you're saying. It had a small tinge of maybe wokeness or modernness, but for the most part, I thought it was one of those movies that you can just watch, have a good time, nostalgia pops. And you're right, Eddie Murphy is getting old. You saw a lot of cut scenes where you're like, oh, they're bringing in the body double to kind of do some action. So, but still, I thought it was a good movie. Definitely a watch for any Beverly Hills Cop fan.
For
The only
sure,
thing
man.
that came out of this, I don't know if you heard, apparently they shot a pilot for a Beverly Hills Cop TV show, and like clips have been leaking out the last couple months because of the movie. And Eddie Murphy makes an appearance in the pilot, and he has a lot of roles, and it's about his son who becomes a cop in L.A., and he gets transferred, and he comes in and they work on this case, and he's like, I gotta go back to Detroit, here's my jacket. He just like, that's how the episode ends, and his son was supposed to like be the new Beverly Hills Cop, but it never got picked up, and I think it was shot like in the early 2010s or something like that.
Yeah, man, that would have been interesting to see. Actually going back to what you were saying before with Coming to America, I was hesitant to even watch this movie because Coming to America 2, I loved the original Coming to America,
Mm-hmm.
one of my all-time favorite
Yes.
movies of his, and it's like a classic. But the second one, right off the get-go, I could tell like this was a cash grab. Like this is not the same. It's definitely more woke, and it went in a different direct. It wasn't even funny to me. I wasn't laughing at. It was more depressing to see it, and I was like, man, why did they do this? Why did they do that? I just kept saying that over and over to myself, and I'm just like, I had to shut it down, dude. I didn't even finish watching it. One of these days, I might have extra time on my hands to finish it up, but that's why I was hesitant on this one. But I really do feel, and like Daniel said, he corroborated. I do feel like this is a worthy watch, and yeah, I recommend it for any fan of the Beverly Hills series. And so anyway, that's enough of our weeks here. Let's actually just jump into the article of the week. All right, so this one is a little different. I have a video that I want to share instead of the actual articles, although the video itself does link the articles, and I will mention those as well. But the video comes from Hampton Law. It's a YouTube channel that it's a civil rights lawyer that does a lot of cool videos and tells you, a lot of informative tips on how to deal with interactions with law enforcement, what your rights are, how to protect yourself. And so this one was sent, he got articles sent to him by YouTube or his audience. And it essentially deals with Ford and how they're developing this tech, and they, signed up for a patent that could monitor your speed and report it to the police. And so the articles he got sent to him were from two different websites. The first one is supercarblondie.com, published on the 29th of July by Siddharth Dudeja. And then the other article was motorauthority.com, uh, pretty much around the same time period, July 25th. This one was by Stephen Edelstein. I'll put the links to both of those up as well as the link to the video. But essentially, he's going to talk about how Ford is developing this new tech. They filed for the patent and it was finally published, and on the July 18th. So the application, Ford discusses using cars to monitor each other's speeds. If one car detects that a nearby vehicle is being driven above the posted limit, it could use onboard cameras to photograph that vehicle. A report containing both speed data and images of the targeted vehicle could then be sent directly to the police car or roadside monitoring units via an internet connection, according to Ford. Using vehicles for speed surveillance would make cops' jobs easier as they wouldn't have to quickly identify speeding violations and take off in pursuit. It also means some of the work would be delegated to self-driving cars, which could be equipped with the text to detect speeding violations, the automaker adds. So there is a legal argument here, and the lawyer in that video does bring it up. He says if they start using technology like this, is that violating your rights to privacy? And also, if you get reported, let's say your car gets reported and it reports the car, the make, model, the license plate, whatever information they can report. Let's say it reports that you still don't know who's officially driving the car. So how do you ticket somebody like that? Does the owner of the car get the ticket, or does the person driving get the ticket? How does that work? And they're all actually taking another step further. They're saying that by 2026 and beyond, maybe there'll even be technology, and I think there is in the works technology that would limit the speed of the car at night, not just for civilian cars, but even for first responders like ambulances, police, etc. That brings into question, do you even own a car anymore at that point? If somebody else can control it, can monitor it, maybe even monitor your conversations, monitor where you're going, your comings and goings. It's just a lot of different like potential violations here, and it's very dystopian sounding and a little, worries, definitely worrisome. Um, a lot of people are saying that if Ford does go through with this, which is not a guarantee, again, this is a patent. They're researching it. It might just be a research project that doesn't make it to production, but the idea that they're toying with this is very, excuse me, alarming. So, what do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I think stuff like this kind of exists already. I know that there's mechanisms, sensors to throttle your overall speed, depending on if it's a car that's in the US or a car that's in Europe. Most engine blocks can go, I'll just throw out a number, 160 miles per hour. But in the US, they throttle it to like 120 is the max or something like that. So I know stuff like that already exists to kind of regulate your car. Definitely stuff for emissions, stuff to kind of restrict that. I don't like the idea of kind of having all your information out there. But yeah, these might be things that just have to come in the future. I know right now they use like your thing for iPass to kind of detect what your speed is from one iPass registration payment to the next payment. So they use stuff like that already. Now they haven't worked out the logistics on how to give you a ticket for stuff like that, but I know that they do record that information. So who knows? Who knows if this stuff is gonna be more and more just the future? So I'm not sure what your thoughts are, Andy. What do you think, man? I know you don't like Big Brother
No,
looking at
I don't have
anything.
an iPass or any of that stuff. And then on top of it, the article goes into um, it will detect if it has an internet connection. It will let the police that's nearby let them know that you're speeding, or if your car saw somebody else speed, something to that effect. They will notify them. I think that's where the legality issue rises. But the guy also mentioned that it might start recording, and that's when I'm like, whoa, like this is different because the way the red light tickets work, they have a camera, they're recording you. A police officer, the way it works in Illinois, I don't know how it is in every state, of witnesses watches the video and confirms or says like, yes, that's a violation, and they sign off on the ticket. If they're submitting video, eh, that's where it's kind of, they could tell people like, I'm speeding or something, but I don't know how they're gonna prove that. But if there's video and it's recording your like your dashboard, ooh, that's gonna be kind of rough. I don't know. I know there might be some pushback on that. And then to top it off, um, the it's collecting data to see where you're going. That's another. I think Americans don't know how valuable one's personal information and stuff that you do it is to these companies. And I don't know when the hell did we ever sign up to give this shit away for free. We should be charging people to see what we do. But that's another thing that's a red flag. Um, yeah, I mean, it's gonna be hectic. Like I think he did it already. He kept stating like this is an R&D project. It might not even go live, but that to me is they're putting some effort because it's probably been requested by somebody or this information they're going to be able to sell to cover their asses. And Tesla is already in some of this where they could cut your car off when Noel says you might not own it, or if there's like some type of pandemic or some challenges going on in this world, or like a war, they could take off your car, not let it charge, not let you turn it on if there's like a national emergency. So, or maybe to a point where you're like a criminal, like they're not gonna let you, they'll lock you in the car until the police come or something like that. That has been already been talked about for the last couple of years too.
Wow, I didn't think about that. But the other thing in the video, the guy makes mention that he has a Ford or a Navigator or something. He said, and he said that he got a prompt telling him like, "Hey, by the way, we're giving your information to somebody just to let you know."
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. It's very dystopian, dude. And the thing is, too, you were mentioning, Andy, they're going to sell this stuff. Well, if they sell it to the police and they sell it to the government's going to pay it using tax dollars. So in reality, we're paying to give up our information. It's really dystopian, man. And going back to the Tesla thing where they could shut off your car and all that, if that technology starts to get like normalized and mainstream so that all car manufacturers start doing this, it's really dangerous because then we no longer really own the vehicle that we're making payments on. We're kind of just either licensing or renting, and it brings back that whole conspiracy theory that we're heading to an era of we're not going to own anything and we're going to like it, and it's a scary potential future.
I think where we're getting into is they're getting into a point where they're gonna control your actions by everything that you do own. You know, I got that in air quotes. Like the other thing he was talking about is if you're getting in the car, I think Ford or one of the motor companies, I don't recall what he said, they're gonna be able to check once you put your hands on the steering wheel if you've been drinking or not. And if the car decides you had one too many, it's not gonna turn on for you. Now that is another thing where I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I was kind of my jaw dropped when I heard that because you're gonna get into an argument with a damn computer about if you can drive or not. Even if you're like passed out drunk, you're not gonna make it to your car. But if you have like a couple beers and the car decides you can't drive, it's like what the fuck? And then or maybe the thing is glitchy or it doesn't work and it won't let you drive. It's like a whole nother situation that is going to come up, you know. And so I'm thinking if it can do that, what other things can it do? Oh, it could decide, oh, you're on drugs or some other shit, or like you're on pain medicine or some goofy shit. You know, that says don't drive what mixing. Like it's getting to a really area where they're going to try to promote it as this is good for you, but again, it's somebody telling you what to do. And this time
But
it's robots or AI.
but do you really mind that, Andy? I mean, I know nobody wants to give away any freedoms, but you know, you see movies like iRobot and Demolition Man, like these new futures, and they are smart cars that do things like that. You know, where it regulates this or sees that you're driving kind of shitty and recommends the auto drive and whatnot, and It's just like all these futuristic
Like
features and
everything,
cars.
it opens up to be manipulated.
Right. No, for sure.
That's where I'm concerned. And like when you watch all these videos of like people getting at DUI checkpoints and or people make doing that the drug test where they make you walk, and it's all going to come down to you versus the police. Some people do it. You could beat all that, and then the cop's going to say like, "I smell alcohol." Then it turns into a you versus them. He said, like police said, and I say this, and you go to court for that. This is, it's just like, oh, okay, boom, here, the car's not turning on, even though you spent a lot of money on it, and uh, it can be glitchy or not, So we'll see.
Yeah, I would say this is a good idea. This is a good reason to start keeping like older cars in circulation. Like keep like repairing them, keep them working. There's certain cars, like I would say before 2010 that are still reliable yet don't have all this crazy tech that spies on you and distributes information and uses the internet. Cars from like 2007, 2010, they're still like technologically good, like they have all the electronic stuff you need and everything and all some nice features, but they don't have this like internet constantly connecting and giving your information of the world. So it might be a good reason to bring all these cars back. And it's probably a good idea to have something like that in case this ever happens. That way you don't have to be stuck giving all your information out to free.
Hell yeah, man. I remember when I first moved into the house, I had internet connectable washer and dryer, and I was just like, what the hell? And then I connected it, and yeah, man, it just sends you reminders and tells you, hey, remember you gotta wash your drum. You gotta like go through a cleaning process. And hey, your dryer's been done for like an hour. Remember to take the clothes out. And it's just like, holy shit, man, this thing's like talking to me.
That's why if you do a warranty claim or something like, hey, this thing's not working, well, it's telling me you leave the clothes on here. You're supposed to take it out within 10 minutes after it starts washing, and it says here you take 40 minutes to an hour. All that dampness messed up this or that. That's not under
Right.
warranty. That's not normal usage. It's stuff to screw over the customer, the consumer, and that's where all this stuff gets like. Yes, it's good to have information and data, but also a lot of it is not for your benefit. A lot of the times it's for, I feel like, to screw you over. Where the customer's always right is not necessarily the case.
Now that we're on this subject, the Ring cameras, Siri, Alexa, supposedly they're always recording, they're always listening, and they're supposed to, right? Like Alexa, if you say, Alexa, find this or whatever, Google this, it's always listening for your voice, and it's always, when you say something like Alexa, and then it'll like respond with like a beeping noise, and then like whatever you ask, it'll start answering your question. That little beeping noise supposedly is it sending signals trying to find out where you are in the room. So it's like it's pretty wild, man. Like how it's kind of an AI. It has to be, right? So that could answer your questions. So it's kind of an AI always listening. It's like a little sister there listening, ready to tattletale to the government on you.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's dependent on if it's worth the sacrifice because I have Alexa in my house and I use it all the time to turn off my alarm or turn off the Ring camera, turn off the Ring alarm so I can open the door, play some music, ask it a question about the weather, when's my next doctor's appointment. I use it all the time for everything. But you're right, it does come with the sacrifice of she's technically listening to this podcast right now as we're recording it. So if God knows if you use it for something else nefarious and where, yeah, it's waiting for that keyword, but if it's not hearing it, while it's waiting, it's recording everything else.
Definitely, Alexa's listening now, and it's telling me that we got to wrap up this episode. So, with that, we got to listen to AI, or they're going to cut us off. We want to thank you for listening. Remember, follow Freeform Network on Facebook and Twitter at Freeform Network. You can send their questions and suggestions to ffnquestions@gmail.com. Let us know if you love that ring, Alexa. If you guys don't care, if the car tells you you're too fucked up to drive, even though you only told that you had 2 drinks. Is that some technology you want your car yelling at you, like your wife? Let us know if you're interested in that type of technology. Check out our webpage at freeformnetwork.podbean.com. There are all our episodes for, man, we've been doing this, I feel like a generation now. We're over 200 episodes. We're on there. You find all of them on there with links to whatever platform you listen to. iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, all that stuff. If we're on, you can listen. We're on it. So if you whatever you listen to, hit like, subscribe, comment. That helps us out immensely. For Freeform Radio, we got Danny.
Yes, sir, man. Gonna go eat some menudo right now, man. I started heating it up a little bit before we start recording on a low simmer, so it's probably going crazy now, ready to eat.
And nice. We got Noel.
Hey, thank you everybody for listening. Gonna try to see what video game to get into, and I'll update you guys next episode.
And it's all good, Andy. We want to thank you for listening, and as always, we can't wait to talk to you guys again, and we'll catch you all next time.
That was cool, Dad.